Another 4 cases of COVID-19 have been directly linked to the Crossroads Hotel in Casula in Sydney's southwest. It brings the total number of infections from the outbreak there to 9. Reporter Ashley Raper joins us live now. So Ashley, just take us through these latest figures in New South Wales and of course this cluster related to the Crossroads Hotel.
Yes, Miriam, concerningly, there are now more cases associated with the Crossroads Hotel in southwestern Sydney. Now, one is an 18-year-old staff worker who worked there over the past week. Another case is connected, a close contact of his, and there are 2 more patrons who ate dinner there on Friday the 3rd of July. One is a Victorian man, the other is a woman from southwestern Sydney. Now, there has been a lot of concern around this hotel since those 2 initial cases were reported from patrons last Friday when they tested positive and there was crossover. They didn't go there together, but there has been crossover. So there's been a lot of testing going on there. But this climbing in the number of cases is really confirming the fears that health authorities did have that this could become an outbreak with further transmissions.
Okay, we've got a lot of interest and concern around this outbreak. What's been the health advice around people, particularly concerning this hotel, the very busy Crossroads Hotel?
Well, all patrons who are infected were there on July the 3rd, and authorities have really focused on that date. And in fact, yesterday they issued a warning and told anybody who had been there on that night, on the 3rd of July, to self-isolate. And that's around 600 people, so that's a lot of people. But now this staff worker that has tested positive worked there over a number of days since the 3rd of July. So now the advice from Dr. Kerry Chant, the state's chief health medical officer, has said that anybody who was there from the 3rd of July to the 10th should immediately self-isolate and get tested.
I give no apologies for taking a very precautionary approach and after asking everyone to immediately self-isolate who was there between the 3rd and the 10th. It is likely to be a large number of people, but this is precautionary and we will further update the community. As you can imagine, it is about a bit of detective work and that detective work is ongoing.
Now, Ashley, of course, a lot of attention around the Crossroads Hotel, particularly when we look at what's been happening in Victoria and the scale of the outbreaks happening there. What are authorities talking about when they see what's happening now at Crossroads Hotel in particular?
The Premier, Gladys Berejiklian, isn't mincing her words. She is clearly very concerned. In fact, she said this is a critical point, that it is proving what's happening at Crossroads Hotel and what happens around that in terms of self-isolation of the patrons and community transition. She says will really dictate what happens, further on in the pandemic and whether we go into lockdown. She's saying really what happens over the next 4 weeks will determine whether we do follow Victoria and go back into lockdown. Let's have a listen to what she said.
We want our absolute focus to be on clamping down on community transmission in New South Wales. That's where we're at. That's how serious things are. We have literally the next few weeks to continue on the strong path we've been on. Otherwise, we'll go down the path of Victoria. It's up to us. And as government, we need to make the decisions but also send very strong signals to everybody about what our focus needs to be. It's about stopping that community transmission.
So the advice is for all those patrons who now should be in self-isolation at the Crossroads Hotel, they should get tested. But even if they do get a negative test for the initial test, that doesn't mean that they should stop being in self-isolation. The self-isolation period at this stage for all patrons at the Crossroads Hotel is 14 days, and the Premier is urging people to abide by that because they do face fines of up to $1,000 if they don't comply.
A really critical time for New South Wales as well as Victoria. Our reporter Ash Raper, thank you.